With everything else that's been going on this week, one story that we keep talking about, that we keep coming back to, is the lead story in the New York Times on Saturday night before that tragic shooting at a Trump rally in Pennsylvania that wounded the former president, was this. Unbowed by January 6 charges, Republicans pursue plans to contest a Trump defeat. Written among other things among other reporters by Jim Rutenberg at the New York Times. The Republican Party and its conservative allies are engaged in an unprecedented legal campaign targeting the American voting system. Their wide-ranging and methodical effort is laying the groundwork to contest the next election, including by attempting to short-circuit the process of ratifying the winner. Again, this is not a backward-looking article about what Trump and his allies did in 2020. This is about what they're planning on doing this year. Again, this story co-bylined by our next guest, Jim Rutenberg, a writer-at-large for the New York Times. Mr. Rutenberg, thanks very much for joining us. It's good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Is the sort of scheme that you outline in your article here, is it a rerun of what happened in January 2020, or is it the kind of thing, the kind of way you would rerun something if you could go back and do it all better so this time it would work?
It's more the latter, for sure. At the end of the day, what they tried to do in 2020 didn't work for their purposes, right? And I just want to say a lot of legal experts believe this won't work either. But what we do know is that there's a lot going on across this country to look at that certification process and change it. And if your viewers will remember, and you did this in your lead up, that the certification process is exactly what was being dealt with at Capitol Hill on January 6th. The pageantry of democracy, that act of certifying an election, it's ministerial. There are no two ways about it. You vote to do it, and there's a move afoot already in 20 different counties. We've seen this where local boards are voting against certifying. It's yet to lead to a big cataclysmic stopping of a certification, but it's come closer than we've ever seen. It's unprecedented.
Tell us about how that might work. Let's say, as you outline in your piece, a county in Nevada, say, where this has happened, has local Republican officials who are true believers in this cause and who are sort of in on this plan. And they decide, regardless of what's actually happened locally in that election, that they are going to refuse to certify the results in their county. What is the knock-on effect of that could ultimately have national consequences?
Well, Rachel, you're right. I mean, this just did happen in Washoe County, Nevada. It only resolved itself a couple of days ago. This time around, the results were certified. A judge came and a judge was basically court papers were filed threatening legal action to force this board to certify. It was plane landed safely. The concern is what happens when this is in the fall. And we're up against deadlines. There are deadlines about certification that's very clearly laid out when the Electoral College votes, and then we're right into January 6th. If one of these counties chooses not to meet that deadline for certification, it's very unclear in the law. And as your viewers probably remember, this law was rewritten to firm things up, to make it harder to short-circuit an election. But there are some loopholes, there are some new wrinkles, including some harder deadlines, and we don't know what happens if you miss those deadlines. There's a lot of fear in the advocate community that could lead to the whole thing getting thrown to Congress, but really, who knows?
And to be clear, not to spell it out too bluntly here, but if a county gums up its certification, refuses a court order or ties it up in litigation, misses that deadline, then conceivably a state misses its deadline to certify its election results because they can't get certified results from every one of their counties. The way that your piece ends is with an acknowledgement from the co-chair of the Republican National Committee refusing to commit when asked whether or not the RNC, whether or not the Republican Party is going to try to block certification of the results in any states this fall. The RNC is essentially refusing to say whether they are joined in this effort, raising the prospect that they are. If a state doesn't have any certified election results, presumably that means they don't submit an electoral slate and the Electoral College can't be tallied.
That is true that the RNC, the chairman himself, other people there I've spoken to, they're sort of at best eliding it. They're not coming out and saying that we do not believe this should happen. And in fact, there are a couple legal cases where the Republican conservative groups are challenging the whole idea of how it's supposed to work, saying that board members should be able to vote their conscience and maybe vote against certification. Again, the laws very clearly say you vote for certification. It's a ministerial thing. So they're trying to redefine it, and the RNC is not disavowing it. Now, look, nobody in this hall today thinks that it's going to require, that they're going to be required to do this in the fall, but we all know it's going to be often a close election in this country, so we'll see.
Jim, let me just ask you one last question. Outlining this the way that you have, again, one of the things that's interesting here is that it is sort of happening in full view. You talk about 20 different jurisdictions, at least, where low-level Republican officials are already refusing certification, not in places where there's real scandal or worrisome content of the election results, but seemingly because they're just inclined not to certify anymore. If we can see this happening, and you as a reporter can see this happening, the Democratic National Committee and the Democratic Party can see this happening too. Are you seeing any evidence of a counter effort or any sort of counter offensive on the side of the Democrats to try to head this off?
Yeah, we're told there's a very strong counter effort. The Democrats say, again, unprecedented. We hate using that word in my newspaper. We only use it when it's true. But the Democrats say that there's an unprecedented effort to meet this challenge, to get on the ground in these states, to monitor. In fact, that Washoe County board, it's a commission board. A Democratic group came in to support a Republican on that board who's very traditional Republican, who believes in the certification process. Interestingly, she ended up voting against her own certification under immense pressure, but reversed her vote this week, and that's how that went through. But the Democrats are all over this, and no matter what is going to happen with that campaign, their lawyers are engaged in dealing, and so are many civil rights lawyers whose his goal is not as partisan. It's a civil rights issue to them, and they're involved as well.
Wow. This shouldn't have to be the way that elections are fought, but this is a very first early clear view that this is the way this one's going to be fought. It's not just about votes. It's about the way elections work or don't. Jim Rutenberg, writer-at-large for the New York Times and the New York Times Magazine. Thank you for covering this with such rigor and such clarity, Jim. It's really good to have you here.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.